Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Today we have a very exciting guest. She's been on the show before. Her name is Nadiya. And if you are a Cradle client, you'll know because she's also our head of account management. So Nadiya, thank you for joining the show again. Say hi.
Thank you for having me, Val. This is actually really nice to be back. And this time, like you said, I am a Cradle member. So, hey,
Mm-hmm. The
I know.
first time you were just a guest. I secretly I've been like wanting to woo you, and now it's official that you're Team Cradle, and it's
I
it's been
know.
amazing having you on
It's been a-
the team. Like you're like your DNA is so much into the culture. Like you've made so many amazing shifts and changes that we'll talk about today a little bit. But I just want to say in front of everyone, thank you for being such a great team
Aw,
member and for doing this with me.
thank you for believing in me. I think the fact that you brought me on because you believed in what I did and you saw, like you weren't even that deeply involved in what I used to do before, but you just saw things and you're like, Nadia will be great. So you believed in me from the first time. So thank you, Val.
I
Appreciate
did.
it.
So let's remind everybody who maybe didn't listen to the first episode how we know each other.
Okay.
It's a cute story. We used to work together and we used to sit like at the same previous company. And then we sat beside each other and I was pregnant and I remember
Yep.
having some very strong pregnancy cravings for spicy food. And
Yeah.
you delivered. Like we ate a lot of spicy food together.
We our favorite is meat mita with ketchup, and I don't think
Mhm.
not everybody knows meat mita if they're not from East Africa or maybe if they're not from Addis Ababa, but it's a game changer. But my brother-in-law
Game changer.
heard that I think you've heard of him. He heard that we did meat mita with ketchup and he was like judging us. He was saying, "You guys are weird. That's a weird combination, but don't diss before you tried it." That's
Has
my
he tried it?
He
Has
hasn't.
he now
Nobody
tried
has.
it? Oh,
No. Like the thing
guys.
is,
Okay,
everybody
so
that complains and, says we're disgusting has not
mhm.
tried it. So
Okay, so
I don't take
it's
that.
like pizza is like it's like spices mixed together. It's a spicy powder. And so Nadia taught me you put it in ketchup. And then we would order French fries together. And it's like French fries with like spicy ketchup. It's so good. It like
So
burns in such a good way.
it has
And
sweetness
to
and
this
also
day, my
spicy.
son can eat spicy food. And I think that's because of you. He was like, you trained him to like spicy food.
Amazing.
Okay, we're getting let's get back on topic. So this is a podcast episode all about account management. Now, when you first joined, I remember that you said you wanted to meet our clients once a week, and I was like, Nadia, that is too much. That no. Now I listened, and clients love meeting with you once a week. It has been like our claim to fame. Now, sometimes as clients start to do really well and they're in the groove, we space it out, right? Becomes monthly or quarterly. But in the beginning, weekly meetings for the first 90 days is something that you really pushed on me and it's worked amazing. So tell everybody what you think account management is when it comes to the work that we do.
So especially the work that we do, the fact that most of our team members, actually all of our team members are remote, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you see them maybe you talk to them maybe once a week, even if that even happens, like because it usually doesn't happen, right? So imagine the client that trusted us with providing them talent. We don't see them, right? That's even you don't know how to help them. It's just like your connection is not built yet. So that's really you need to as an account manager, sorry, you need to build relationship. That's the main part of account management, right? And people take light of that, but it's not like you have no idea. We can list out examples for you because we've had some clients that were ready to quit on us on month one or even like week one because
I feel
they
like day
didn't know what
4.
exactly because they didn't know what they were doing. They're like, I don't know how to navigate this. I don't think this is going to be working for us, so I'm going to quit. And we're like, wait, let's pause. How about we meet weekly and then we talk about how things are going, and then from that we if there's nothing that we can do, okay, fine, we will stop. But if there's something that we can do, let's talk about it and let's find a resolution, right? So the whole reason behind meeting them weekly is to build relationships, right? So
Mhm.
I've said this multiple times on my LinkedIn post as well, where I say, don't hire for talent, hire for um, behavior, hire for the work ethic someone has, right? And the talent and the, what do you call it? The tasks that you want them to do, everything, that's something that can be taught, right? If you
Mhm.
match with someone relationship wise, if you're vibing, their work ethics, their behavior is something that you think would work, you can mold them into the talent that you want them to be. But how do
Mhm.
you do
I
that if
Yep.
you're not in the same room, right? How do you do that if you're not in the same office? So that's by meeting them weekly. And you mentioned that I meet my clients once a week, but that's not the case. We also do it with our talents. We try to meet
Mhm.
them once a week, or we try to meet them, like if they want us on a daily basis, we try to sometimes give them time. And all of this is because the connection needs to be there to build successful relationships, right? You need to have that connection, whether it's with your talent or with your client. And with that, at the end of the day, they might even love us from the relationship that we built from them with them, that they're willing to work with the talent. They're willing to put in more effort with the talent. And that's what happened to most of our clients right now, right? Like we build relationship with them that even if they can't continue with us, they still refer people to us, or they still push to work with their talents more and more. So account management is basically relationship building. You just build a relationship and then your growth just happens automatically. That's what I believe
I
in.
agree. Yep, I think you said that perfectly because I see how you build relationship with our clients. You understand what their business model is, their KPIs, and then you're also building a relationship with the team member that they hired, who is like always qualified. They've done remote jobs before, but there's always like a learning curve, and something about having someone in the middle who is the advocate for both sides makes such a more seamless way of working together. Because a
Yeah.
lot of our we have clients who have big teams who know offshore. That's easier for them. But we also have a lot of clients who are hiring their first virtual assistant ever, their first cold calling team ever.
Yeah.
Or maybe they've done offshore before, but they just still want some extra help in making sure it's smoother this time. And that's where I've seen you fill in the gap. And it's been really cool to see.
Yeah. And one thing that I would like to add is when you offer to meet someone weekly, sometimes it's not just about the work that you talk about, right? It's also, you talk about personal things. Like I said, relationships. You try to build relationship
Mhm.
outside of work. So that's also something beautiful. Like people, if they like who you are, aside from what you do for them in terms of work, they will stick with you because that's
Mm.
how humans grow. That's, you build relationships, and that's how humans grow. So it's working so far, so I'm glad. I'm happy.
It is. And when you first came on to this link that I sent you before we were recording, you're like, Val, I'm a therapist. I just met with this client, and like
I
I've heard you say
know.
that before, but like you do know our clients so well. And that's also why, like on the back end, if the virtual assistant or the cold caller needs any support, you're like, look, this is what so and so needs. Like this is what's going on in her life. So this is how you have to step up, or this is how you have to do things. So I appreciate that so much. What's a good example of maybe like an account management story? I know we have a lot, but do you have any that stick out in your mind of like something that you did?
Yeah,
Or do you want me to share my favorite one?
I have one till this day that I love so much because every time, so this was a new client, and I think it was like maybe 2 weeks in after I joined Cradle. It was 2 weeks in or something. We onboarded a new client. I don't want to mention the name, but we onboarded a new client, and then we established the weekly calls with them, and they agreed, right? But on week one, I received a message saying they don't want to continue this because they don't think it's working and they don't know how to make it work, right? So I said, okay,
Mhm.
how about we continue this weekly calls, and then I can give, like, whatever questions you have, I can give you guidance, like, and then during these calls, we weren't just talking about how I can help her with the talent. We were also talking about that what my client was doing, right? What's her business? What is she looking from the talent that we provided her, and all of that. And then weekly, we used to meet weekly, right? And then week one was tough. Week two, she's like, I gave her guidance. So the question, one of the biggest things for our clients, especially for new clients, if they've never hired remote team members, especially from Africa or from anywhere, the biggest question they have or like fear they have is, how do we work with them? What tasks do we
Mhm.
give them? What access do we give them? How do we know that they're doing things, right? And how do we know that certain things are taking this much time? How do we know things are being done on time? They have lots of questions because this is new territory for them. So these questions, if they were brought up to me on week one, and I was like, okay, question number one, how do I give them tasks, right? How about you do daily check-ins with your talent, 15 minutes check-in in the
Mhm.
mornings, and then talk about your day. Talk about your day as in, what's the talent going to do for the day? What are the tasks that need to be completed today? What's priority number one? What's priority number two? Give everything priorities. And then how do you want things to be done for you? Number two is like, what tasks can I give them? What access can I give them? If you have a need in certain places that you know you need help on, give them access. Like one, you can either show them a Zoom video or get on a call with them and then show them how things are done. And then that video can be housed on our talent's computer. They can refer to it whenever they want, right? So that's also one. And then there are other questions as well that we tackled in terms of communication because um, like I said, if you've never hired from Africa before, communication is also like a very important part, right? Certain things can be miscommunicated, certain things can be misinterpreted. So, how do you communicate certain things? I was also able to navigate our so-called client with that. And then week two, I did a heat check. I was like, how's week two? From a scale of 1 to 10, how's week two from week one? And then she's like, okay, week two is actually at a 5. Because initially, week one
Mhm.
was, she was 0. She wanted to quit. She was
Oh,
done.
no.
And then she was like,
Mhm.
week two's I'm at a 5. I'm at a 5 being like, I see progress, I see communications happening, I see movements. So we're at a 5 right now. I was like, okay, what's pending? What more do you need from me to help you? And then she just wanted to track her projects, her tasks, right? And if, like I said, if you've never done project management, if you've never delegated before, these tools where you track progress, where you track tasks, what stage are they on, is really really important. So I told her, what if
Mhm.
we just use a Google Doc or like a Google Sheet where you list out all of the tasks that you have for that person, for our talent, and then that talent daily goes in and updates the progress. And then of course during your daily meetings, you can do a check on progress. And then she's like, okay, I can do that. And then week three came, and then I was like, how's week three? Heat check. What number are you today? She's like, honestly, I'm at a 7 today. And I was like, okay, great. So what changed? Why are you at a 7? She's like, I love working with her. She responds to me really quick. She is on top of things. The only thing that I would say like I'm hesitant to give you a 10 right now is because I think it's me, and she's usually travels a lot. This client usually travels a lot, and then she said it's because it's me. I haven't given her much of my time, so I haven't seen her full potential. So I think the 3 points are for me, but right now I'm at a 7. I was so happy. So long story short, a week ago I had my call with her and she's at a 10. In fact, she's even above
Mhm.
10. She's also trying to refer more clients to us. She always talks about our talent like in such a good way, where she says she loves working with her. She's great at such and such. She wants to also refer
Mhm.
her to another talent where she gets to work more, get more hours, get more pay. I'm like, that's amazing. These are some of my success stories that I have, and the reason I mentioned this is because with the client that I just told you about, I would like to think that I've already built a relationship with her because
Mhm.
we also send pictures of our. I think my cousin's kid. We also send each other
Mm-hmm.
pictures of our nieces. Like she sends me, this is my granddaughter. I'm like, this is my nephew. Like look at, and then we've already bonded. So you can say the first 2-3 minutes of our call is bonding. And I love this
Mm-hmm.
client because she gave me time. She was willing to learn. She was willing to ask questions and give us the grace period that any team member needs, right? Whether you're a remote
Mm-hmm.
person or in person, everybody needs a grace period. It's a new environment, right? You're going into a new team. It could also be a new type of job, right? So if you've made the effort to hire someone, also you need to make the effort to work with them. The first, like I've
Mm-hmm.
always said, the first 3 months should be a grace period where you do a proper onboarding, you do a proper training with your talent, and you do a proper check-in with your talent and also us, the account managers, right? That's the only way you can
Mm-hmm.
build a successful team. I think I'm talking a lot, but that's what I
No.
have.
No, that's such a good story. I know who you're talking about. And you're right. Like now this client has referred so many people to us. She does
Yeah,
speak so highly of her talent. I've seen them do video interviews together that I think
they
are out on
do.
social
Yeah,
media, which is so
yeah,
fun. And she is actually pitching us to this organization that she's working with to kind of like white label our virtual assistants so that we can
yeah.
hire a lot more through like a proper channel. So yeah, that is the power of account management. A couple other stories come to mind. One is okay, so once in a while, we have a talent who, for some reason, the client lets us know they had a bad internet issue, which we don't love. We try and fix ahead of time. But I do remember one client who was like, hey, Val and Nadia, so and so is having bad internet. And it was just like a quick text
I
from
know who you're
Nadia to be
talking
like,
about.
yes. Hey, so
Yeah,
and so, did you remember to get like the backup internet plan and this? And then it was like, oh, I forgot. Signed up. Never had an issue since. So there's things that like Nadia has like I feel like you have like a toolbox and like what every situation calls for. And sometimes the client doesn't know it exists. Sometimes the talent doesn't know it exists. Like a VPN, like a US VPN fixes a lot of
yeah.
issues. Sometimes the talent doesn't know that they need one and the client doesn't know why they can't log in. And it's so simple because you know the situation.
I know who
Yeah.
you're talking about.
I know.
But
I feel like we know each other so well. We have so many conversations. There's one more story that you also know who I'm talking about. But because you are in like the in-between person, if occasionally we have to replace someone, which happens once in a while, it's nice that they're not starting brand new. Like you already know
yeah,
this client. You've already made the other person write out the SOPs. You're able to make a transition. So recently we had a talent who unexpectedly got a visa to Canada, like just something that we would not have pictured. She's no longer able to work when she's in Canada. It would be against her visa. So because you knew this client, you were able to pick the next best person, train this person up on the back end, replace them, and like just the most seamless way. And that's again a testament to why account management is so needed.
it matters. Yeah. And to be honest, if no one has ever had experience with account management, it's the first couple of weeks is going to be really tough. They're like, why are we meeting again? What are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
So weekly calls usually I like, so during these calls what I like to do is check in on you. How are things? What can I help you with? And if it's usually the first week is like they don't know what to ask, or they don't know because they haven't yet,
Mm-hmm.
tried their full potential or talent's full potential. So um we had a new client 2 weeks ago, and then our weekly calls with them, usually my weekly calls usually last from 15 to 30 minutes. Sometimes if the conversation is really good and I don't have any other calls, it goes like above 30 minutes. It goes like an hour or so. But 15 minutes, I was able to understand what they were looking for. I was able to understand some of our talents were having technical difficulties, and it happens sometimes. Technical difficulties do happen, but if we're able to identify those problems early on, we're able to fix it. Because frustrations usually come if we're not aware of the problems, right? If it keeps
Mm-hmm.
happening and we're not aware of the problems, we can't fix them. So, account management, me being in the middle, or you sometimes being in the middle, the whole point is, um, how do we get to things, or how do we fix things before they actually get to 100? and 100 is the bad part, right? How do we fix them before they get 100? And we've had these scenarios a lot. We've had scenarios with um, technical difficulties, and they reached a certain stage where they're like, oh, we can't come back from this. It's too bad. It has to
Mm-hmm.
end, which we understand. But in another scenario where, like you said, we heard about it early on and we were able to fix it. Now they're doing great. Now everybody's like trying to hit KPIs, everybody's trying to do things, and the technical difficulties are not a problem. So, yeah, account management
Mm-hmm.
matters.
It does. And I think another thing we've done recently is just like full transparency. So we know all of our team members' KPIs. We get internal reports, even if they're reporting it to the client. So if, for example, 2 days in a row, we see a cold caller had not as many appointments as he needed. Sometimes, Nadia, I know you'll be like, okay, then go meet with Ezzy, who is our in-house SDR manager, practice your script. Like whatever objection you're facing, just practice it with Ezzy. And by like day 3, their numbers are back up again. So you're able to like fix things before the client even sees it as a problem. So yeah, it's amazing. So question for you, because a lot of our clients have never hired from Ethiopia or another African country before. What are a couple of things you hear our clients say before they start working about either the continent or working with a talent? And then how does that change once they start working with whoever they chose?
I think one of the biggest things are our accents. They usually have like they have this idea of how African accents should be or they should sound. And then once they start working with them, they're like, they sound so American. They sound so, I was like, yeah. And then there are these things where I remember initially some of our clients used to be worried about culture. Like, do we have a lot of cultural differences? Can you tell me, like, I've had, which by the way, I love this about our client community, where most of our clients are so inclusive. They also ask you about, like, hey, outside of like, technical things, is there anything that I should know about culture wise that I should be careful about not to say, or that I should be considerate to? And I'm like, that's so sweet. Most clients or companies don't do that. I mean, they might, but I haven't heard of them as much. So
We have good clients. I would
we
say like
have
our
really
clients are
good
like
clients.
really good people, like really good at
Yeah.
business, but just like really good human beings as well.
Yeah, which by the way is like one of the main reasons a talent will stay with you for a longer period of
Mm.
time, right? Just like how our clients stay with us for a long period of time because of the relationship that we're building with them, and also the talent, the good quality talent that we're providing them. The relationship matters with a company and an employee, right? If
Mm.
a
Mm.
Western culture tries to include themselves into an African culture, it's like that's huge. So
Yeah.
to your question, one is accents. They're like a little bit weary about it in the beginning, and then come like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they're like, we want to hire more talents from you. We want the same accent as so and so. We want, I'm
Mhm.
like, sure. And then the other thing is culture. Most of our talents,
Wait,
if
I'm
you've
going to stop
noticed,
you there for a second.
yeah,
Let me stop you for a second and also just point out that you are Ethiopian. So anybody who's
I am.
listening to this, like again, like you probably have like better English than I do. Like your accent is so good. Like so if anybody's worried about accent levels, like listen to Nadia. And I don't think if we didn't tell them that you were Ethiopian, I don't think anybody would have known. So like that's the accent
That's
level we're talking about that our clients are
Yeah,
very happily surprised by.
they are. And that also leads to usually like more talents being hired, more an account growing, you know? When we get a client, that's basically an account, right? So when that account grows, you can see, I can give you like three main reasons why that account grows. One, the talent is really good at what they do, right? Two, the
Mhm.
talent communicates really well with the client, right? Communication can be, even if you're not doing well, but you're communicating with your client about the issues that you're facing, about if you're asking the right questions of how to improve and so forth, client loves that. And then the third reason could be the fact that we are actually easily accessible, right?
Mm.
Management is easily accessible. They can troubleshoot things for them and so forth. So the first two things, communication and doing their job well, um, and their accent. Sorry, their accent also goes into the communication part because they know how to communicate very well, right? That is also like one of
Mm-hmm.
the main reasons. I know like most of our clients, their main one of their main reasons is like their accent is really good. I want to hire someone like so and so, same accent. And we're like, okay, cool, we'll look for that for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the two things that I'm like, wait, I didn't tell you about the culture. So the culture part,
Sorry, I interrupted.
no. So the culture part, when a client is onboarded, they usually they're worried about the cultural difference that they're gonna be facing with their talent. But this is like things that I've realized about us, about Ethiopians, is like we know our culture very well, but we also know the Western culture very well. Like movie wise, we're very intertwined with Western movies. Like there are actors or like influencers that we know from Western cultures. We're basically like there's no difference between the things that we like and the things that you like. We have people in common,
I
Val. So
I agree. I think people find that out also during like an interview because sometimes we'll say like, "What's your favorite movie?" And it's always like Harry Potter, The
I
Notebook,
know.
Rush Hour, like it's all the things that like our clients are also watching. To the point where like we have so many talent who are watching like Love Island and some other like American junkie reality shows, and I'm like, okay, that's like a warning sign for another reason. But I'm happy you guys connect with the same
I
shows.
know. Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
even bonded with one of our clients, if you remember, with The Sopranos, like that show. And every
Mhm.
time I do my weekly check-in with him, he checks in with me. He's like, "So what part are you on? The Sopranos?" And I'm like, "I'm on this. Oh, it's gonna get good." So like our culture is not
So
that different.
fun.
Yes, we have like
Mm-mm.
80 different languages, 80 different cultures in my country, but we're also the same. Like there are certain things that
Mhm.
make us the same that it's not hard for us to bond with our clients. It's not hard for us to create
Yeah.
relationships with our client. So that also gives us a plus, I guess.
I agree. And also, I mean, let's also keep in mind Ethiopia is the country that invented coffee. So if you like coffee, I'm gonna go on a limb and just say like I think you'd like hiring from the country. Like like honestly, there's so many good things about Ethiopia. I know we can go on and on about it. But okay, so I wanted to end with your favorite account management tips, but I feel like you've already shared some of them. So 90-day grace period to get in the groove. Meeting with you weekly. Like don't blow those calls off in the beginning. They actually are helpful.
Hmm.
Daily check-ins. Again, we love that. Like if you want your talent to do a good job, they have to know you. They have to know your company. So you have to spend time with them. Besides those 3 tips, is there like one or two other things you might want to mention that are important for the client to do?
I think not just for the client, because it also goes both ways for my talents as well. The talents also need to be doing certain things for this to work. And something that I always say, and you always mention it during our onboarding calls, is over communication. I believe in over
Mm.
communication a lot, especially the first 90 days. Over communication is a big thing. Even
Mm-hmm.
if the grace period is done, since we're all remote members, we don't know what each others are doing. I don't know what my talents are doing unless they come and tell me, right? If you're in an office setting, you can go and check in on them. Same goes when you're a remote
Mm-hmm.
team member. Text your talent, text your client, let them know what you're doing. If you have questions, don't wait on them. Just go on, ask them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like over communication matters. Um, and to be honest, through time, things get easier and the over communication just becomes like a routine where you do a check-in with your clients, right? So over
Mm-hmm.
communication matters a lot.
It does. Yep. No, I 100% agree. That's great. I just thought of one last case study or benefit I want to share about account management is because we work with so many clients who are doing like the same work, but like in different industries.
Hmm.
And so we're able to figure out what works best and it becomes easier for the newer clients. So for example, sometimes we have clients who want to be on a guest podcast or a keynote speaker. And so they'll say things like, should the virtual assistant reach out as me or under their name? And
Hmm.
because we've done it with so many clients, like Nadia, I know you're already like, you should do it like this. Or like if we have a script that we know works well, then the other clients, you're able to help share that and craft it for them. So that's like the other, I think, benefit of account management is that so many of our clients have the same problems. And at this point,
Yeah,
we kind of know the answers to them. And you've
yeah.
been so helpful in like connecting the talent on the back end to make sure that everybody understands things and sharing with the client what works best and what doesn't.
Hmm. One final
Yeah.
thing that I would like to add is, if you're a client that wants to hire your first remote team, or your first um, VA, your first SDR, you need to make sure you're setting your talent up for success. How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, the onboarding matters. During the onboarding, give them the full description of what their role is going to be like. Give them a full idea. Like, what do you do? What is your job about? If they're an SDR, what is my talent going to be selling for you? What is my talent going to be
Mm-hmm.
cold calling for you? If you're just going to be like, figure it out, figure the product, do
Yeah.
your own
Here's a
studies,
list. Make
that's
some
not going to
dials.
work. Yeah, that's not
No.
going to work.
Mm, it
And
matters.
you're going to be seeing a lot of mistakes as well when they do the cold callings, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell my talent, like, go figure it out, do your own studies and come to me with questions, and then when my talent does cold calling and you hear a little bit of a difference, or like a little bit of a problem with how they're selling your product, that's not on them, that's on you, because you haven't given them the
Mm-hmm.
proper tools to succeed. So make sure
Yep.
you're giving them a proper onboarding, make sure you're giving them a proper training, right? If after all of this you're still seeing issues, talk to us. Like, we have our SDRs behind the scene that can help you. They can do trainings with them. They can do objections handling. They can do role playing with them. They can make them succeed. And then the same thing
Mm-hmm.
goes for VAs, right? If you're hiring VAs from us for the first time, remote team members, you need to be showing them things how you need to be showing them how you like things to be done, right? You can't just
Mm-hmm.
expect everybody to be you, right? That's the one of
Mm-hmm.
the biggest problems or issues, difficulties that I faced when our clients hire a VA is they want them to be like them 100% within day one. You can't get that.
Exactly. You won't. Not even, it's not even about like offshore or Ethiopia or Africa. It's like in America, you can't find someone who can replicate you in day one. You have to put in
Exactly.
the effort and train.
Yeah, you have to you have to show them how things are done. One of my favorite things to say is, like, if you have something you want to be done like you do it, do a Loom video. Show them how to do it and send it
Mm-hmm.
to them. They can go in and refer to that. And if they come to you again and again, especially within the first 2 months, that's fine. They're still getting used to things, so they're gonna keep coming to you. Don't get
Mm-hmm.
don't some of our clients get a little bit annoyed if our talents go to them constantly, which I understand if you have all of the materials for them in place for them to refer to. But sometimes it's better to, not better, like, as someone that's been in a talent position where I've had all of the materials for me to succeed, I like I like it better when I ask my team lead. I like it better when I go
Mm-hmm.
to you if I have a question, if I come to you, how do I do this? But if you brush me off and say, I gave you the file, go refer to that, that's not gonna make me feel comfortable, right? Especially
Right.
the first
Because you just
couple of months.
learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in that, I mean, the only problem with like a Loom video on everything, like you said, is like it might show you what to do, but there's always like deviations. And so
Yeah.
if you're able to spend that time with your virtual assistant or cold caller, they get to know you. And then when there is a deviation, they already know how you think. So they have a better idea of how to handle the situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super important. But anyways, I know we could talk about account management all day long, but what I'm going to do is I'll put your LinkedIn handle in the show notes because you are awesome on LinkedIn. You share account management strategies like every day. So if anybody wants to connect with you and ask AM questions, whether you work with us, whether you don't, reach out to Nadiya, reach out to me, and it's something that we are really passionate about and we love talking about. Nadiya, is there anything else you want to say before we end this?
Uh, I think 2025 is going to be big for us, especially with how we're handling a certain thing. So I look forward to it.
I I do think 2025 is big for Cradle. Like I can already
Yeah.
see the partnership and like influencers on board and the way we're doing things. It's a big year and we're happy to have everyone on this journey with us. So thank you
Yeah.
everybody for listening. And we hope that you took away some good account management strategies and we'll see you in the next episode.